What's up, everybody? More playoff football today. Welcome to the RotoGrinders NFL pre-lock show, Cincinnati and Buffalo. I'm the Luch, and I'm here with Dre. What's going on, Jersey? How are you today?
I am doing pretty good. Getting ready to watch the game myself. Hoping that my second favorite team takes this wins today and moves on to the next round.
Yeah, highly anticipated matchup here: Burrow versus Allen. A rematch of the game we didn't get about a month ago or however long it was, but we have two stud quarterbacks, two high-profile offenses. We got some snow moving in on the radar a little bit here. Drop those questions in the Discord or the YouTube, and we will get to them. We're going to talk a little FanDuel single game. We're going to talk a little DraftKings Showdown, and then maybe squeeze in some questions for the multi-game slate at the end, because we have more content later today coming up for the Cowboys and 49ers showdown. So if you're looking for some info on that game, definitely check back here later with RotoGrinders for more of our awesome content. And Dre, I mean, hey, we saw some great football this weekend for the most part. The Eagles game last night was a bit of a snoozer. I talked about some stuff on the two-game slate yesterday that almost helped me take down some showdown stuff. When Kenneth Gainwell ripped off that big one in garbage time, I was up to top 20 in the $3.20 max. Thought I had a shot there. Didn't get it done, but felt pretty good about where my head was at after yesterday's set of games here. And I'm looking forward to breaking this big one down here between the Bills and the Bengals with you, because there's a lot of star power everywhere in this one. You can make a case for plenty of different captains on DraftKings. Now, when you talk about FanDuel and MVP and raw points, it gets a little bit trickier here. So, let's talk about MVP here, on FanDuel. Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, we're talking about raw points here. There is a pretty big difference in salary here, but there's always a way to build with some value on the board on FanDuel.
Oh, yeah, there is definitely always a way to build some with value here on FanDuel for sure. And I think this MVP spot is going to be very, very, very important in this game. I know we said snow is going on, but I think it's on the TV. It looked like nothing was on the field from what I was seeing. So that makes me like these guys a lot more as far as for captain spots, because they're going to be able to throw the ball down the field and be able to create touchdowns, especially with a guy like Josh Allen who can run the ball in a lot. But I do obviously I'm going to be a little biased towards my second favorite quarterback. My favorite quarterback probably in the league right now is Joe Burrow. So, since Drew Brees has retired, but Joe Burrow, I think, it can have a big game here against the secondary. That is, they're getting healthier, but I think they're still weak and not at their peak right now. So, I think Joe Burrow can take advantage of that with Jamar Chase here and T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and Hunter and Hayden Hurst here. So, I like him I think him as MVP as well as Josh Allen, like I mentioned before. But you could also, if you think that one of these other wide receivers are going to have big games, and definitely take a guy like Jamar Chase or Stephon Diggs, who I think are good ideal captains here.
Yeah, and there's been talk all week about the Bengals missing some offensive line pieces, and that's fine. But if you're a believer that the Bills play with a lead or a slight lead for most of the game, then I still think those pass catching options for the Bengals are definitely squarely in play as well. I can't really argue with either of the quarterbacks here. Now, if you're looking at a non-quarterback and you had to pick one guy, right? You have Diggs, you have Mixon, you have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. You have plenty of opportunities here. I mean, heck, you can even make a case for Devin Singletary if he vultures 2 touchdowns or something like that in an ugly game. I mean, it's unlikely, but it's possible. Who do you like out of these skill position guys for kind of a contrarian MVP on FanDuel here?
I'm going to say, everyone's going to – I really want to say Jamar Chase, but he's going to be probably the most popular guy from what we're looking at as far as MVP. So I'm going to go with a guy like Stephon Diggs. I think Stephon Diggs, he gets the PFF. If you look on PFF, Pro Football Focus, he has the best matchup on the board of the whole weekend against the quarters here for the Cincinnati Bengals, even though their defense as a whole is nothing to laugh about, in my opinion, and they're very underrated. Stephon Diggs would probably be the guy I would go with as the MVP today for on FanDuel.
I like the Diggs call. I like Chase as well. If I'm multi-entering, honestly, and I'm looking for MVPs other than the quarterbacks, if I'm taking a stand today, I think I'm getting rid of Mixon, and I think I'm I don't even think I'm considering Gabe Davis. I know he had a big game, but last time out, but raw points wise, I just don't think I can do it. The Bengals have like really struggled to run the ball for most of the season. Mixon had one ceiling game. You might see some good stats, but he had a lot of volume. They were pretty consistent in trying to run the ball. Now they're without two linemen, and I just don't know. And I'm talking about for flex too. Like I might be underweight on Mixon at flex, and if there's a guy I'm willing to go underweight on, or maybe just risk it and X him out, it might be Mixon. And that could kill me. Get a couple pass interference calls, and the ball gets put down on the 1 yard line, whatever. He dumps it in a couple times, and I'm not having a good day. But I do like Jamar Chase. His target share is incredible. It's only growing. He seems to show up in these big games. I know Buffalo got Tre'Davious White back a couple weeks ago, but or maybe like closer to a month or two ago, but he just, I don't think he's 100%. It looks like he lost a step.
Yeah, he has not looked like himself yet. So I like for Jamar Chase to still take advantage of that. Like overall, if you ask me, like as a fan, I think I got Cincinnati to win this game, and it's plus money right now if you want to take that bet. But I love Jamar Chase, so I love that spot. I think he can definitely have a monster game here. I also wouldn't sleep on T. Higgins though as a contrarian captain if you want to look at that too, because if Joe Burrow does spread the ball around, we know Chase is going to get a majority of it and has been over the past few weeks, get a majority of targets. Um, but T. Higgins, all he needs to do is just catch a couple in the end zone, especially on a site like FanDuel where touchdowns weigh a lot more versus just catches, which is like DraftKings, which receptions I think matter a little bit more, or it doesn't matter as far as the touchdowns. So T. Higgins, I think, is another option here, or Tyler Boyd is a deep if you're at like 150. Any of these guys to me can have 2 to 3 touchdowns here today. I think, like, I personally overall love the Cincinnati receiving core that they have here. I think it's vastly underrated how many weapons they have on offense and how much better I think their receivers are talent wise compared to Buffalo's.
Yeah, and I was talking about that earlier this week on the Food for Thought pod. We're talking about Josh Allen forcing some throws, and he just kind of has to. Because after Diggs, it's very questionable. Gabe Davis had 800 yards this season, didn't have that boom year everybody wanted him to have. So I think you make a really good point. If these projected ownership numbers stand true, I think Hayden Hurst and Tyler Boyd are going completely undervalued, and I think they're two of the best value players on the board for flex today.
Yes, I completely agree. I love, especially Hayden Hurst. I think Hayden Hurst is my favorite. Like today, in general, is my favorite tight end to go with. On the board, just for the weekend alone, he'd probably be my second favorite behind Kelsey. So I will get a lot of Hayden Hurst today.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. So if you're building like an optimal lineup, who would be your captain? Smaller field type stuff or higher stakes. If you want to go with the quote unquote right play at MVP, which quarterback would you take today?
I'm gonna run on my guy Joe Burrow because I think he's gonna be able to put up some points here against the secondary. So I think Joe Burrow will be my call for the captain spot, and then pairing him with 2 of his receivers. And that's the thing, like you go with these combinations could be work any kind of way to go differently. So Jamar Chase probably would be one of the guys, but I don't. But Hayden Hurst says he's my second favorite MVP. Player today that I like a lot. I'm gonna go with him probably next, and then T. Higgins probably third and point last.
I mean, if you're playing like some ultra conservative stuff, or you think it's going to be optimal, you can play Burrow and Josh Allen together, and then you still have 8.8 per position left. You might not get that elite pass catcher with Josh Allen, but just got to hope he does some damage with his legs and maybe scores on the ground or something like that as well. So you can definitely make it work with both quarterbacks. Now, that's not always going to be the optimal build, but I think if you're looking for floor, I think you can still play Allen and Burrow and then use Hurst or Boyd like we talked about, or maybe even both of them, honestly. Like if you plug in Burrow and Allen and then go Boyd, Hurst, right? And I can't plug in all the slots. That gives you $11K left, which is money for T. Higgins or Dawson Knox or Devin Singletary or James Cook. So I think there's some wiggle room there, even with playing both quarterbacks on FanDuel.
Yeah, I completely agree for sure with that one.
Any other value pieces you're interested here in? What are your thoughts on James Cook? Kind of has a role that is a little unpredictable with this team, I feel like.
Definitely unpredictable, but honestly, he's in my DK lineup that I ran for the weekend. I think he's a fantastic GPP play today. Um, they're gonna run the ball. He's gonna probably get like I would imagine like maybe 12 to 15 carries today. So and maybe a couple passes out of the backfield possibly. So I like him a lot today more than Singletary. So I definitely love him as a play. Not as an MVP obviously, but definitely in your lineups for sure. And also don't mind Samaje P. Ryan. I think he's a fantastic sneaky play today.
Games like this, I feel wow, Easy just took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say McKenzie. In these big games, you have some gadgety looks once in a while and some weird stuff. And I kind of had the same thoughts as Jamal Agnew in yesterday's game. Of course, he coughed up the ball on like the 4-yard line and it didn't work out. But I just feel like with these gadgety type players in the big game, there's always a couple design plays for a guy like McKenzie that he's very volatile. He could not literally not score today potentially, but I think McKenzie's interesting as well.
Yeah, I think he is. I think he is definitely for sure for like definitely like big tournaments. I think he's going to go overlooked and underowned in general. Come back off of what hamstring injury, I think is what he had. So he should, I would expect him to be fully healthy and fully here to go. So it's just more so how often is he going to get on the field, what would concern me a little bit. But especially with Cole Beasley now back in the situation here, which I think mucks things up a little bit.
You want to switch it over to DraftKings? What do you think?
Yeah, let's go to the DraftKings.
I think the pricing is really interesting on DraftKings. I have captain up right now. Of course, you have Josh Allen at 17-7 for captain. Jamar Chase, not Joe Burrow. Jamar Chase is 17-1. Stephon Diggs, 16-8. And then Joe Burrow, 16-2. And then there's a massive drop-off to Joe Mixon, who was a little over 13K for captain. Starts to get really interesting when Joe Burrow is 900 cheaper than Chase and 1,500 cheaper than Josh Allen. Now, you don't have to, obviously you don't want a huge gap in ceiling performances here, but that is a really generous tag for Joe Burrow, Dre.
Yes, it is. Just makes it hard not to want to play him, especially in the captain spot. So I think it's someone that you can definitely look at for sure. It's just the ceiling on just a guy like Jamar Chase is just so high. It's and Stephon Diggs and Allen. How can you want to avoid those guys? I probably would just. I don't mind taking the contrarian approach and doing it as long as you think Joe Burrow is going to be passing the ball like around to other receivers too as well, which he should, especially in a playoff game like this, and he gets the ball out quickly. So I would definitely, I definitely would take that for sure.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to save some money. Let's see. What about Tyler Boyd at captain? And then I see Rodney's question for the 2-gamer, which we'll get to momentarily. Tyler Boyd captain would definitely be an interesting large field look here, I think.
Yeah, I like that, especially if you think he's going to get 2 touchdowns or more. If he gets like in the end zone twice, maybe even 3 times. If he has one of those Gabe Davis games that he had last year, which I think he's definitely capable of doing. So I like that call.
Let's see here. Value wise, I mean, I think we're talking about some of the same guys here. Shakir's a guy who's pretty cheap. Another guy who's volatile in this offense. 1,200 is going to fit a lot of builds if you're kind of looking at jam in, Diggs, Chase, Burrow combinations and things like that. So I totally understand some Shakir shares. I think both kickers are in play. They're carrying a lot of ownership here. Of course, like Hayden Hurst and Boyd are a little more expensive on DK here. A lot of ownership for Gabe Davis. I totally understand. I just feel like Eli Apple's always getting on blast here. Either Diggs or Gabe Davis, I think, are going to have a big game. And I'm leaning Diggs, and that's probably the easier answer. But I don't know if I want to deal with the 28% ownership of Gabe Davis, like someone that volatile of Gabe Davis. More oftentimes than not, he just hasn't been great this season.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think Diggs is the guy this game Gabe Davis, he's very sporadic. He's a boomer, and he's a very boomer bust play. And I just don't think this is the matchup for him. I think he can obviously have a decent game and some catches here, but I think this is a game more for like a guy like Dawson Knox, who I think that at the tight end position, how he's going overlooked here. I think we have him at like what 9% projected to come in as far as ownership wise. I think he's someone that should definitely be higher than that. I would play him over Gabe Davis, I think, because I think they're going to try to attack the middle of the field, and Dawson Knox is a guy that can definitely take that up a lot. Will run across the middle of the field a lot today.
I think, and Diggs is carrying a lot of ownership in his own right, and he should. But if you prefer to have your Buffalo exposure with Gabe Davis or Singletary, it just makes you not have to punt to fill out your lineup. While you're looking for the other ceiling guys. So I think that's why Singletary and Davis are carrying a really decent, like 30% ownership for both of them. I think is a lot. But like for me, if I'm playing this, I'm looking to get the punt rate today. And I don't know who that punt's going to be, whether it's Shakir, whether Cole Beasley catches 5 passes, randomly, whether one of the defenses who are both checking in at sub 15% ownership has a fluky fumble return for a touchdown or something like that. I don't know, but I'd rather, try to get my ceiling guys, skip over the Singletaries and the Davis and get that punt right and see what happens. That's just my take here.
No, I completely agree, and I'm trying to actually look right now to see what Cole Beasley's target share was this past week when he last played a couple weeks ago. Gosh, my internet is now running slow and not bringing it up on the page.
I will tell you this though, just getting back to Gabe Davis, does have 19 targets over the last 2 weeks, so I totally I get it. I'm just choosing not to go there, and if it burns me, it burns me.
Yeah. Okay. So well, as I see right now, he had 5 targets, 2 receptions, 35 yards, but a touchdown. At that price of 1.8K, I'm taking a shot on Cole Beasley all day. Gabe Davis had a good game too last time against Miami. He went off for 9 targets. So if it's because it's going to be a pass, we have to think about it. They're going to be passing the ball a lot here. They definitely are for sure. So I love taking this just a shot on a guy like Cole Beasley when we know he's going to get on the field for sure, and he's coming in sub 1% ownership.
And this is where if you're building, 50 teams, 100 teams, whatever in lineup HQ, if it's me, I'm setting a build rule and I'm making a max of 1 between Beasley and Shakir. I don't want both of them. I don't want to jam. It's just not worth it because more likely than not, one of them is going to bust. More likely than not. I think they negatively correlate. They compete for targets and snaps. So I like Beasley and I like Shakir. I just would not play them together whatsoever. Yeah, Beasley with 5 targets. Very interesting. So anyway, we got about 10 minutes left here. I guess we can kind of segue into the 2-game slate here. And I know Rodney had a question about some of the 49ers about playing Mitchell and McCaffrey together. And we saw that a very viable strategy in recent weeks on these short slates. And let me bring up the 2-game slate here as well. Sunday only. And I think that's fine. You have to tell the right story in that lineup if you're playing McCaffrey and Mitchell together, I think.
Yeah, you definitely do. And you have to think about what Brock Purdy's going to do. First of all, when it comes to Shanahan, he is one of the better offensive coaches in the NFL right now. He might get the ball to one of these guys. He's going to use all his weapons, his abilities to make him make you think, especially on defense and of all things. So I don't mind taking a shot with Eli Mitchell today, but I'd rather go with a guy like I think Youssef is something we can think about too as a deep play because this is the playoffs and this is the time where Youssef gets used a lot more. I think I said it on the FanDuel Friday show when I was with TJ. But these are the spots where you see him Kyle Youssef go for like maybe 40, 50 yards, but just one touchdown. If he gets at the goal line or he just breaks off one long run. So I like him as an option too. as well.
Looking at these 4 quarterbacks here for the 2-gamer, and I have FanDuel pulled up, but obviously Allen, Burrow, Prescott, Purdy. Not a huge difference in price on FanDuel. Purdy 7K, Dak 7,500, Burrow's 8K, and Josh Allen is 9K. Are you sticking here with this first game for your quarterback of choice, or do you like Dak or Purdy at all?
I love going with the first game for a quarterback, but the other quarterback I don't mind taking is Brock Purdy. I think he has just a lot to prove. And Shanahan's been putting him in great positions to succeed and get the ball out of his hands into his elite receivers and skill position players, I should say. So he has a lot of those at his disposal with Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, like I said, Yusuf as well. Like and Mitchell, like that's 6 guys that just stay right there easily that he can get the ball to in space and create. And I think he can run a little bit. So I think Brock Purdy is definitely someone I think is viable in GPPs, especially going against a team like Dallas. The defense has played better last game, but can they do it 2 games in a row? That's what I want to see. So, and Brock Purdy surprised me with the way he played last game against the Seattle defense, and I think it was a little bit underrated in my opinion. They're not the best, but they were pretty decent all season. So, I think obviously the first 2 guys you want to get some exposure to for sure, but just in case that game goes under with the way the weather is, or if the snow picks up, Brock Purdy I think is a great option.
Yeah, and we kind of have a battle of 2 narratives here. I feel like all week we're hearing, well, Brock Purdy hasn't faced a defense like Dallas, and it's like, well, Dallas hasn't faced Dallas hasn't faced a team like the Niners in quite some time either. So something's got to give here. My lean is that I favor the Niners in this game, as Vegas does as well. But one guy sticking out to me in this game is Debo, and I just feel like he is about as fully unleashed as we've seen him, and I think his role is going to be massive as we've seen it. And I think whatever ownership number you're seeing on Debo, personally, I don't think is enough. On the flip side, I do kind of like CeeDee Lamb. He's going to be the volume guy. I do think Dallas will be trailing a little bit, and I feel like they'll be a little bit one-dimensional. I don't think they're going to be able to establish the run. Is my best guess. This is just the story I'm telling here, folks, that I want to tell. And as good, so the Niners limit targets to receivers, but according to Gridiron IQ here and RotoGrinders, they do give up the highest success rate to receivers of any team left in the playoffs. So I kind of like pairing Debo with CD. Even if I don't want to get a ton of exposure from that game, I kind of like having those 2 together, and of course maybe McCaffrey, and then kind of plug pieces in from the first game is the way I would attack it.
Yeah, and that's McCaffrey's only played the Dallas Cowboys once, but his game against them wasn't even the greatest game. I looked up some stats on it. Granted, it's a whole different situation because he was in Carolina then, and now he's in San Francisco. And Shanahan said, better, much better offensive coach than what he probably has ever had, especially at Carolina. But Debo to me is that guy. He's the number 1 option. I love that call today. He's my favorite. Probably like one of my favorite plays easily on the slate for sure. And CeeDee Lamb is definitely to run it back with. I love that call because San Francisco, their weakness of their defense is their secondary. Like that is the one thing that can get them beat. So I don't mind that call at all. Taking a shot with that combo right there and getting well over field on that, because honestly, I think everyone's overlooking that, and everyone's probably focusing more on the Christian McCaffrey angle, which is fine, but Debo's going to get a lot of work too as well. So I like that, and then running it back with the CeeDee Lamb on the other side.
Yeah, I don't want to call McCaffrey like the Luka of the 2-game slate, but it kind of he's been fantastic. Maybe the Debo effect kind of, I'm playing devil's advocate here ish. Maybe the Debo effect, him back in the lineup.
Oh, it's bad.
Will draw some targets away from McCaffrey. I don't know. Of course, McCaffrey's ceiling is fantastic. If you're playing cash games or really small field stuff, I play McCaffrey totally. Like I can't say anything wrong about the guy. Is the best player on the slate, but Debo is my conviction, and I'm really warming up to labeling CD as my other one as well. If you had to pick between Pollard and Zeke, do you have, like, if I'm holding a gun in your head here, what are your thoughts between those two?
Yeah, the snow is really bad in Buffalo. I just looked at the TV real quick, and it is pouring. Pollard is, I mean, bad, not pouring. Well, pouring flurry wise, I guess, but it's bad on the field. Visibility looks like it's going to be a little bit crazy. I might switch my lineup now, but I think that I like Pollard a lot more than Zeke today because you need a pass catching back in the backfield. And Pollard granted, Zeke, he catches passes out of the backfield too, but Pollard is well more versed where he can line up in the slot and attack the secondary, like I said, which is the weakest part of San Francisco's defense. So I like that aspect and go with Pollard a lot more.
Yeah, well, if you're switching your lineups, you got like 2.5 minutes here. It's 2:57 Eastern. Make sure you guys and girls are all hitting save on your lineups. I don't really have any other thoughts here. Brandon Ayuk carrying some decent ownership here. And his target share still been steady. I wouldn't disregard Brandon Ayuk whatsoever. Yeah, I guess we'll have to see what kind of impact the weather makes. I don't know if people are going to be late to adjust or overreacting. I'm not sure, but
I don't know if I'm overreacting or not. Like, have you looked at the weather in the game right now?
Yeah.
Am I overreacting?
I don't know. I'm still in favor of the receivers, Chase and Diggs. They're yak monsters, man. All it takes is a 5-yard quick slant, even in bad weather. Like, they're gone. I would hold the line personally. But
I mean, I told you what I have in my quarterback situation, so it doesn't even matter at this point. I'm just trying to shoot the cash.
Yeah.
So maybe I just leave it alone and just hope for the best. I probably will do that.
So who wins these games, Dre? Let me get some predictions there.
I think Cincinnati money line all day and San Francisco all day. I don't know. I know in some states you can bet what you think the actual prediction of the Super Bowl is going to be. I like Cincinnati versus the Philadelphia Eagles.
Cool. I think Buffalo wins. Cincinnati covers. I think the Niners win and cover. If I had to guess, I'm sticking with the Niners. And I'm up here in PA this weekend. It's been a rowdy 12 hours or so. So my Eagles friends are happy and obnoxious, but that's fine. So congrats to them for moving on. And my Giants fans, I mean, we're so close to New York. Feel for you guys. Hopefully you have a nice drink or two this weekend. We are about hitting lock, and I think we are going to wrap up there. You have anything else before we head out of here?
No. Take the anytime touchdown. Well, besides that, take anytime touchdown on a guy like the tight ends. James Cook today, I think, is a good option as well. And Samaje Perine, anytime touchdowns.
Heard it there first. For Dre and producer Steve, I'm the Luch. We'll see you later. Good luck, everybody.